America. I'm Erick Erickson. It is September 22nd, 2025. These are the four things you need to know this afternoon before you get home. Up first, the Trump administration has announced it believes there are ties between acetaminophen, the key ingredient in Tylenol, and autism. Now, this is disputed by a lot of research you do need to know. Basically, here's what the situation is. The Trump administration says there are some studies that show small links between folate deficiency and use of acetaminophen and women who've given birth to children later diagnosed with autism. However, there are other studies that show when you actually look at families that have multiple children and mothers had folate deficiencies, or really we're focused on acetaminophen here, we're using acetaminophen during birth of multiple children, that it should have applied to all children and didn't. And essentially, when you look at families that have multiple children in same patterns, there seems to be no link between acetaminophen and autism. But in other studies, there's a faint link. So they're raising awareness about Tylenol and acetaminophen, while manufacturers and a lot of doctors actually think this is well researched and there is no tie. At the same time, they're approving a drug for use for autism symptoms called Leucopore. Now, Leucopore has, in some studies, shown it can improve language and behavioral skills in children with autism. If Leucopore sounds familiar to you, well, it's currently used to treat the side effects of chemotherapy and can minimize symptoms of chemo side effects. Up next, Spirit Airlines is furloughing 1,500 flight attendants as part of its bankruptcy. It's trying to seek profitability. There will be voluntary furloughs beginning November 1st. Involuntary furloughs will begin December 1st. Spirit Airlines has told its pilots that it's got to rein in $100 million from contracts with employees, particularly with pilots and other flight crew. It's trying to figure out a restructuring path out of bankruptcy. Its discount airline setup has not been very profitable for it. Other airlines in markets that Spirit goes to have been competing with it. It should have merged probably with Frontier Airlines. It tried to merge with JetBlue, which made no sense to any regulator as to why a discount airline would merge with an airline that's not a discount airline. It's tried various ways to save itself and has not thus far been able to do so. So it's trying to rein in costs. It's cutting routes. Routes that have previously been announced are now all walked back. There are 12 of them. Other routes are being scaled back or canceled altogether due to profitability concerns. The Trump administration is canceling grants for trails and bike lines that are hostile to automotive culture. The Trump administration has decided the Biden administration, and really before it, the Obama administration, went too far in allowing cities to take up roads that were paid for in many cases with federal funds in order to add in bike lanes, sidewalks, trails, things like that, and compress roads with cars. We see this in a lot of urban areas around the country where Democrats have essentially decided to inconvenience car owners by adding bike lanes and pedestrian areas so that fewer and fewer people, they think, will be discouraged from driving. Bizarrely, one of the rules also requires that sidewalks be built when there's new federal highway construction. In many cases around the country, including very near where I live, about 5 blocks from where I live, there's a sidewalk that's been constructed. It ends at a cliff on one side and ends in the highway on the other side. There's no other sidewalk around. But federal grants required that the sidewalk be built to become pedestrian friendly, and no pedestrian can actually use that sidewalk. This will actually save money, but it will also get rid of the areas in blue cities that have incentivized walking culture over people driving, getting to work, and inconveniencing the drivers, many of whom live in suburban areas and commute in town for work. Lastly, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Twitter has announced the United States is considering intervening in the Argentine economy to help President Javier Milei prop up that economy. Things have been going fairly well for Javier Milei, but there have been some setbacks to the peso. Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund is something that's being considered for use. The Treasury Stabilization Fund was created in the 1930s. It can be used to supply loans to foreign countries facing financial difficulties, and Congress gives the Treasury Secretary full control over how to use those stabilization funds. Now, this is very important because Milei in Argentina is a bastion of free market economics and conservative social policy, and he's surrounded by a lot of progressive populists down there and socialists. Our government wants to prop up Javier Milei as China has made inroads into other South American countries. This is brilliant Monroe Doctrine at work here by the Trump administration to prop up Milei, who just had an electoral setback in the Buenos Aires area and has upcoming elections. Milei is not as popular as he once was in Argentina, even as people realize a lot of his reforms have done good. The Peronists down there are very well entrenched. Ironically, the Trump administration's economic policy in this country is far more similar to the Peronist economic policies that the Argentinians have pushed off than the Milei free market policies that the Trump administration seems to reject. Nonetheless, Milei is recognized as a good ally in South America and needs to be helped as best he can, and Scott Bessent and the Trump administration are willing to do it. These are the 4 things you need to know this afternoon, oftentimes headlines that don't get a lot of coverage but are significant. Those are them. I'll be back tomorrow with more. I'm Erick Erickson. In the meantime, stay engaged, stay informed, and please keep the faith.